A notification banner dropped across Claire Montgomery's phone screen like a guillotine blade. She'd been stirring honey into her coffee, watching the golden spiral dissolve, trying to convince herself that 28 was still young enough to start over. The cafe smelled like cinnamon and optimism. Her laptop sat open to a half-finished presentation. Tuesday morning. Ordinary. Safe. Then Nathan's face appeared, tanned and smiling in that way he perfected for his real estate promotional videos. Her thumb moved before her brain could intervene. The post expanded. Nathan Price stood on what looked like a yacht deck, one arm around a woman who could have stepped directly from a magazine cover. Platinum hair caught the sunset. Her dress probably cost more than Claire's monthly rent. The caption read, "She said yes, engagement party this Saturday at Skyline. Celebrating new beginnings with my forever." 6 months. They'd been broken up for exactly 6 months. Claire had spent 4 years learning Nathan's coffee order, meeting his parents every Sunday, planning a future in the house with the bay windows he'd promised they'd buy. 4 years of being told she was his person, his home, his everything. Then one Tuesday, different from this one only in how thoroughly it had dismantled her life, he'd sat across from her at this exact cafe and said, "You're wonderful, Claire, but I'm evolving. My lifestyle is changing. I need someone who fits that world." She'd asked what that meant. He'd shown her his phone, an Instagram profile, Vanessa Knight, model, influencer, 200,000 followers. Someone extraordinary, he'd said, as if Claire's extraordinariness had an expiration date he'd finally noticed. The coffee tasted like ash now. Her phone buzzed again. A text from Becca. "Tell me you did not just see that." Claire's fingers shook as she typed back. "Saw it." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, "Coming over tonight. Wine, sweatpants. We're burning his shit in effigy." Despite everything, Claire smiled. Becca Torres had been her lifeline these 6 months, showing up with takeout and terrible movies, never once saying, "I told you so," even though she'd warned Claire about Nathan's vanity years ago. The presentation deadline loomed. Claire forced her attention back to the screen, but the words blurred. She closed the laptop. Her apartment felt smaller when she returned that evening. The living room she'd repainted sage green, thinking fresh colors meant fresh starts. The bookshelf organized by emotion rather than alphabet, a quirk Nathan had called charmingly chaotic before it became disorganized. The buzzer rang at 7. Becca entered like a hurricane holding wine bottles. Her curly hair was pulled back, camera bag still slung over one shoulder from a wedding shoot. She took one look at Claire's face and set the bottles down. "How bad?" "I'm fine." Liar. Becca pulled her into a hug that smelled like lavender perfume and darkroom chemicals. "You're allowed to not be fine." They sat on the couch. Wine poured into mismatched mugs because Claire still hadn't untacked all the boxes from when she'd moved out of Nathan's place. "He sent me an invitation," Claire said quietly. Becca's mug stopped halfway to her mouth. "No." Claire retrieved the envelope from the counter. Cream cardstock, expensive. Her name in calligraphy. Inside, the same yacht photo, printed with embossed lettering announcing the engagement celebration of Nathan Price and Vanessa Knight. "That's a power move," Becca said, voice hard. "He wants you to know he's upgraded." "Maybe he has." "Stop." Becca set down her mug with force. "That man traded authenticity for Instagram filters. You're worth 50 of whatever that is." Claire wanted to believe her. Some days she almost did. "Are you going?" Becca asked. "No, obviously not." "You should." Claire stared at her best friend. "Why would I do that?" "Because hiding gives him the tower. Showing up, looking incredible. Living your best life? That's how you win." "I'm not trying to win anything." "Then you've already lost." The words settled between them. Becca softened, reaching for Claire's hand. "You spent 6 months rebuilding yourself. Don't let him take that by making you hide." Claire didn't answer. She refilled her mug instead, letting the wine blur the edges of the day. But that night, alone in bed, she stared at the invitation on her nightstand. The party was Saturday, 4 days away. She imagined walking in alone. Nathan's sympathetic smile. Vanessa's perfect face. The whispers. Her phone screen glowed in the darkness. Without thinking, she opened Instagram, scrolled to Nathan's profile. His recent posts were a highlight reel of a life she didn't recognize. Exotic restaurants, private gym sessions. Vanessa in every photo, draped across him like an accessory. In 4 years together, Nathan had posted Claire exactly 3 times. She closed the app before the old wound could reopen. Thursday evening found her in an upscale grocery store across town, the kind with imported olive oils and cheese that required consultation. She'd dressed carefully, practiced walking with her shoulders back. This was reconnaissance. If she went to the party, she needed to remember how to exist in Nathan's world without shrinking. The wine aisle stretched before her, bottles arranged like soldiers. She reached for a Cabernet, second shelf. Her hand collided with another. "Sorry," she said automatically, pulling back. "My fault." The voice was deep, amused. She looked up into gray eyes that seemed to catalog everything in a single glance. He was tall, dressed in dark jeans and a Henley that suggested money without announcing it. Dark brown hair slightly disheveled. A small scar above his left eyebrow. Handsome in a way that didn't need effort. "You take it," he said, gesturing to the bottle. "No, you were here first. I'm flexible about wine." "You look like you need something specific." It should have sounded patronizing. Instead, it felt observant. Claire took the bottle, noticed her hand was shaking slightly. His gaze dropped to the invitation she'd stupidly brought with her, sticking out of her purse. "Big event?" he asked. "Something like that." "You don't sound excited." "It's complicated." He nodded, understanding in the silence. Reached for a different bottle, then paused. "For what it's worth, anyone who makes you look that anxious about a party probably isn't worth going for." Claire's throat tightened. "How do you know I'm going?" "You're here, practicing." His smile was slight, knowing. "Exposure therapy. I do the same thing before board meetings I'm dreading." Before she could respond, his phone rang. He glanced at it, grimaced. "That's my cue. Good luck with whatever it is." He moved past her, answered the call in a low voice that faded into the next aisle. Claire stood holding the wine, heart beating faster than the encounter warranted. She didn't even know his name. Saturday arrived with cruel sunshine. The dress she'd bought hung on her closet door, mocking her. Navy blue, fitted, elegant. Armor. Her phone showed 2:15. The party started at 6. The panic attack began at 4:30. Claire sat on her bathroom floor, dress still hanging untouched, breathing too fast. This was stupid. Masochistic. She'd text Becca. Say she was sick, stay home and watch something mindless until this feeling passed. The doorbell rang. She ignored it. It rang again, then knocking. "I know you're in there," Becca's voice called. "I can hear you catastrophizing through the door." Claire opened it, mascara streaked and barefoot. Becca's expression shifted from determination to concern. "Okay, new plan. We stay in, order Thai food, forget this whole thing." "I wanted to go," Claire whispered. "I wanted to prove I'm okay." "You don't have to prove anything." The doorbell rang again. Both women turned. Becca opened the door to find a delivery man holding garment bags and shoeboxes, all branded with names Claire recognized from magazine advertisements. "Claire Montgomery?" "That's her," Becca said slowly. He handed everything over, departed without explanation. Claire's hands shook as she unzipped the first bag. Inside, a dress that probably cost more than her car. Emerald green, sophisticated, stunning. The shoes matched perfectly. A small card fell out. The handwriting was masculine, precise. "You dropped this yesterday. Wear it tonight. You'll need armor." The wine aisle. Claire's breath caught. Becca grabbed the card, read it, looked at Claire with wide eyes. "Who is the wine aisle?" "I don't know. Someone I met. We talked for maybe 3 minutes. And he sent you thousands of dollars of clothes?" "Apparently." They stared at each other, then at the dress. "This is insane." Claire said, "This is a sign," Becca countered. "The universe is telling you to go." "The universe doesn't send designer dresses." "No, but mysterious men who notice you're struggling apparently do." Becca held up the dress. "Put it on." "I can't accept this. You can return it tomorrow. Tonight, you wear it." And show Nathan Price exactly what he gave up. Claire's reflection caught in the hall mirror. Messy hair, smudged makeup, old t-shirt. Not the woman she wanted to be. She took the dress. By 5:45, she didn't recognize herself. The dress fit perfectly, transforming her frame into something confident, powerful. Becca had fixed her makeup, kept her hair simple. The car Becca called arrived at 5:50. Styline occupied the top floor of a building that touched the clouds. Glass elevators, marble floors, the kind of place where even the air felt expensive. Claire's heels clicked against stone. Each step felt like walking toward a cliff edge. The elevator ascended, her stomach dropped. The doors opened to twilight and string lights. Beautiful people holding champagne flutes. And there across the rooftop terrace, Nathan. He looked exactly as she remembered. Perfectly styled hair, expensive suit, practiced smile. Vanessa stood beside him in white. Because of course she did, Claire's feet wouldn't move. This was a mistake. She should leave. She'd made her point by showing up. She could disappear before anyone noticed. She turned toward the elevator. A hand touched her elbow, gentle but firm. Leaving already? The voice from the wine aisle. Claire spun. The man from the grocery store stood beside her, transformed. Tailored charcoal suit, hair styled, but those same gray eyes that had seen through her panic. Recognition and confusion warred across her face. He leaned close, his breath warm against her ear. Voice low enough only she could hear. Play along. Before Claire could process, respond, or run, he placed his hand on her lower back and guided her forward, into the party, into the lights, into Nathan's line of sight. The conversations didn't stop, but they shifted. Heads turned. Nathan's expression froze mid-laugh. The silence lasted 3 seconds. Then the party resumed. But every conversation now angled toward them. Claire felt the weight of attention like physical pressure against her skin. The man's hand remained steady on her lower back, proprietary but somehow respectful, guiding her through the crowd with the confidence of someone who'd never questioned his right to occupy space. She found her voice, kept it low. "What are you doing here?" "Saving you." His smile was slight, visible only to her. "Trust me for 2 hours. I don't even know you." Nathan Price does. He accepted 2 champagne flutes from a passing waiter, handed her one. "I outbid him on 3 properties last year. He's never forgiven me." Claire's mind raced, connecting fragments. The expensive clothes, the casual authority, the way people's eyes tracked him across the terrace. "Who are you?" "Julian Cooper." He said it simply, as if the name didn't regularly appear in business sections of newspapers. As if his face hadn't been on the cover of Forbes 18 months ago under the headline, "The 30-something who revolutionized venture capital." Her hand tightened around the champagne flute. "The Julian Cooper." Unfortunately, his gray eyes held amusement. "Though right now, I'm just your date, if you want me to be." Nathan was moving toward them, Vanessa in tow. His smile looked painted on, cracks forming at the edges. "Last chance to run," Julian murmured. Claire's heart hammered. Edsley's instinct screamed to flee. But something else, something dormant for 6 months, stirred beneath the panic. She straightened her spine. 2 hours, she whispered back. "That's my girl." Nathan reached them, hand extended toward Julian with forced enthusiasm. "Cooper, didn't expect to see you here." "Price." Julian's handshake looked casual, but Claire noticed Nathan's wince. "Congratulations on your engagement. I hope this one works out better than your last relationship." The barb landed with surgical precision. Nathan's jaw tightened. His eyes cut to Claire, cataloging the dress, the shoes, the man beside her. "Claire, you look well." "She looks extraordinary," Julian corrected, his tone pleasant and absolute. "But then, she always did, you just stopped noticing." Vanessa's perfectly shaped eyebrows rose. She looked between them, confusion flickering across her face. Her phone was already in her hand, fingers moving across the screen. "How do you two know each other?" Nathan asked, trying to reclaim control of the conversation. "We met recently," Claire said, surprised by the steadiness of her own voice. "It's been enlightening." Julian's hand moved from her back to her waist, a subtle shift that announced intimacy. "Claire's been teaching me that not everything worth having comes with a price tag. It's a refreshing perspective in my world." The implication hung in the air. Vanessa's fingers stopped moving. She'd found what she was searching for, eyes widening as she stared at her phone screen, then at Julian, then back again. "You're that Julian Cooper," she breathed. Net worth over $2 billion. You sold tech venture for $800 million when you were 29. The number seemed to hit Nathan like a physical blow. His practiced smile crumbled entirely. Julian's expression didn't change. I prefer not to discuss finances at parties. Claire and I should make the rounds. Nathan, congratulations again. He turned them away with effortless grace, leaving Nathan and Vanessa frozen in their wake. As soon as they were out of earshot, Claire exhaled shakily. $2 billion? Don't believe everything you read online. It's closer to 2.3. His tone was dry. Does it matter? You sent me thousands of dollars in clothes like it was nothing. It was nothing. Your peace of mind isn't. They reached the edge of the terrace, where glass barriers separated the party from a dizzying drop to the city below. Julian released her waist, leaned against the railing. The calculated performance dropped slightly. You want an explanation, he said. That would be helpful. I saw you at the store. You looked terrified of a piece of paper. I'm observant, occasionally impulsive, and I have resources most people don't. He paused. After you left, I looked you up. Looked me up how? Security footage, your credit card receipt. It's not difficult when you own the building. He caught her expression. I know how that sounds, but I recognized Nathan's name from business dealings. He's insufferable, petty, the kind of man who sends his ex-girlfriend an invitation to his engagement party because he needs her pain to feel powerful. Claire's throat tightened. That was exactly what it had been. So you decided to rescue me? Like some kind of billionaire white knight? I decided to offer you a choice. You didn't have to wear the dress. You didn't have to come tonight, but you did. His gray eyes met hers. Maybe I'm tired of pretending too. The words settled between them, honest in a way the performance inside wasn't. Pretending what? That wealth doesn't isolate. That people want to know me rather than know my portfolio. That any relationship I attempt isn't calculated on a spreadsheet before dessert arrives. He looked out at the city lights. You needed an escape for one night. So did I. Claire studied his profile. The strong jaw, the scar she wanted to ask about, the weariness hiding beneath expensive tailoring. What happens when the night ends? We disappear, go back to our separate lives. You get the satisfaction of Nathan spending the next month wondering how you landed a billionaire. I get the memory of an evening where someone looked at me and saw a person instead of a bank account. It should have sounded manipulative. Instead, it sounded lonely. 2 hours, Claire said. Then we're done. Deal. They returned to the party as partners in conspiracy. Julian's performance was masterful, attentive without being possessive, wealthy without being ostentatious. He remembered names, asked questions, made Claire laugh with quiet observations about the other guests. She found herself relaxing into the role, discovering that pretending with someone honest was easier than being real with someone false. Nathan watched them constantly. Each laugh, each casual touch, seemed to wound him in ways Claire hadn't anticipated finding satisfying. But she did. An hour passed. The sky darkened. String lights created artificial stars above the terrace. Julian was getting drinks when Nathan appeared beside her, too close. Playing out of your league, aren't you? His voice was low, meant only for her. I'm not playing anything. Please, Julian Cooper doesn't date marketing managers from mid-tier firms. What did you do? Throw yourself at him? Play the victim? Nathan's smile was cruel. I know you, Claire. You're ordinary. Safe. You found a way to leverage that into something interesting for one night. Congratulations. But we both know this disappears at midnight. Each word was a precision strike at insecurities he'd spent 4 years mapping. Does it bother you? Claire asked quietly. That maybe I am exactly what he wants. That ordinary might be refreshing when you're surrounded by people performing constantly. Nothing about you bothered me. You were just insufficient. The words should have destroyed her. 6 months ago they would have. But Julian's voice came from behind Nathan, cold and controlled. You're in my space, Price. Nathan turned. Julian stood holding 2 drinks, his expression pleasant and absolutely dangerous. Just catching up with my ex. She looks uncomfortable. Move. This is my party, and she's my date. Move. or I'll make a phone call that ensures every property development you have pending dies in permit hell. I know 3 city councilmen having dinner downstairs. Want to test me?" The threat was delivered with the casual certainty of someone accustomed to power obeying him. Nathan's face flushed red, but he stepped back, retreating into the crowd. Julian handed Claire her drink. His jaw was tight. "You didn't have to do that," she said. "Yes, I did." "What did he say?" "Nothing I haven't heard before." "Claire." She met his eyes, found genuine concern there. "He called me ordinary, insufficient. Said this," she gestured between them, "disappears at midnight. He's wrong." "Is he? You said it yourself. 2 hours, then we disappear." Julian was quiet for a moment. "I meant the performance ends, not the possibility." Before Claire could process that, Vanessa's voice cut through the party, shrill and sharp. She stood near the bar, visibly drunk, pointing at Claire. "Everyone knows this is fake, right?" Vanessa's words slurred slightly. "She's using him." Poor little Claire needed an upgrade, so she bought herself a billionaire for the night. The party went silent. Nathan tried to pull Vanessa back, but she shook him off. Her perfect face was blotchy with champagne and insecurity. "You think you're better than me? You're just a better actress." Claire felt Julian tense beside her, preparing to intervene. But something shifted inside her, solid and certain. She stepped forward, left her champagne on a nearby table, and met Vanessa's gaze. "You're right," Claire said clearly. "I am acting tonight. Because I spent 6 months believing I wasn't enough. That ordinary was an insult. That I needed to be extraordinary, which apparently means looking perfect for Instagram and having no substance beneath the filter." Her voice didn't shake. "But here's the thing I learned. Authenticity isn't ordinary, it's rare. And any man who trades real for performative deserves exactly what he gets." She turned to Nathan. "Thank you for the invitation, and for reminding me why I'm better off without you." Then she walked toward the elevator, head high, heart pounding. Julian caught up with her as the doors opened. They stepped inside, descended in silence. Claire watched the numbers drop, adrenaline fading into exhaustion. "That was remarkable," Julian said quietly. "That was necessary." His driver waited outside, a black car with privacy glass. Julian opened the door for her, slid in beside her. The vehicle pulled smoothly into traffic. Claire leaned her head back against the leather seat, closed her eyes. The tension that had held her spine straight for hours released all at once. Her breath hitched. "I've got you," Julian said. And somehow that was enough. She cried silently while the city blurred past. Julian a steady presence beside her, not fixing, just witnessing. When they reached her building, he walked her to the door. A hallway light flickered, casting uneven shadows. "Thank you," Claire said, "for everything. You saved yourself in there. I just provided transportation." Still, she met his eyes. "I know it was just pretend." "Right, just pretend." Something flickered across his face, gone too quickly to identify. He turned to leave, then paused. "Keep the dress. It suits you." Only after he'd gone did Claire notice he'd left his suit jacket draped over her arm. Inside the pocket, she found his business card. On the back, handwritten in the same precise script from the earlier note, a phone number, and the words, "In case you need a +1 again, J." Claire stood in her doorway, holding the jacket that smelled like expensive cologne and possibility, wondering if midnight really meant the end, or if some stories continued past the final bell. 3 days passed like held breath. Claire returned to work Monday morning, her desk unchanged, her inbox full of mundane requests, as if Saturday night had happened to someone else. But her coworkers had seen the photos. Someone at the party had posted images that spread across social media like wildfire. Claire in emerald green, Julian's hand at her waist, the two of them looking like they belonged. In a magazine spread about beautiful people living unreachable lives, her phone buzzed constantly. Friends she hadn't heard from in months suddenly wanted coffee. Her mother called twice, asking why she hadn't mentioned dating anyone. Becca texted hourly, demanding updates Claire didn't know how to provide. Because what was there to say? "Thank you for playing along, mystery billionaire. It was a lovely performance. Let's never speak again." Julian's jacket hung in her closet, still smelling faintly of him. His card sat on her kitchen counter, moved slightly each morning as she made coffee. never quite thrown away. Wednesday afternoon, Becca cornered her at lunch, sliding into the booth across from her with the determination of someone who'd run out of patience. "You haven't called him. There's nothing to call about. He gave you his personal number. As a courtesy, we had an arrangement. It's over." Becca stole a French fry from Claire's plate. "Did he seem like someone going through the motions to you? Because those photos show a man looking at you like you're the only person in the room. He's a good actor. Or you're a coward." The words stung because they were accurate. Claire had spent 3 days convincing herself that reaching out would be pathetic, desperate, proof that Nathan was right about her needing rescue. Better to leave it as a perfect memory than risk discovering it meant nothing to Julian. Her phone buzzed, an email notification from Nathan. Subject line, "Can we talk?" Claire's stomach dropped. Becca noticed her expression, leaned forward. "What?" "Nathan wants to meet." "Absolutely not." But the emails kept coming, then texts. By Thursday, he'd called 4 times, leaving voicemails that progressed from apologetic to insistent. The final one said, "I'm coming by your office tomorrow. We need closure." Claire deleted it, but the unease remained. Friday afternoon. Nathan appeared in her building's lobby. He wore the expression he'd always used when he thought he was being magnanimous, a studied combination of concern and superiority. Several of her coworkers noticed, whispering behind computer monitors. "Claire, you've been avoiding me." "I've been working." "5 minutes, please," gestured toward the coffee shop across the street. "I owe you an honest conversation." Every instinct said refuse, but people were watching. And causing a scene would only feed the gossip that had finally started dying down. They sat at an outside table, afternoon sun harsh and revealing. Nathan looked tired beneath his tan, lines around his eyes she didn't remember. "I made a mistake," he said without preamble. "Seeing you Saturday, happy, with someone who clearly values you, it made me realize what I gave up." Claire said nothing. "Vanessa and I aren't working. She's not who I thought she was. Everything's surface. Performance. There's no depth." He reached across the table, stopped just short of touching her hand. "We had something real. I was an idiot to throw that away for someone who looked good in photos." The words should have felt vindicating. Instead, they felt hollow. "You're saying this now because I showed up with Julian." "I'm saying this because I finally see clearly." Nathan leaned forward. "Was it real? You and Cooper?" Claire hesitated, the pause too long. Nathan's expression shifted, understanding clicking into place. "You used him. To make me jealous, to get back at me." His smile was almost triumphant. "We're more alike than you thought, Claire. Both willing to play games when it suits us." The accusation landed like poison, seeping into doubts she'd been trying to ignore. Had she used Julian, accepted his help knowing it would hurt Nathan, caring more about revenge than the person offering rescue? "That's not what happened," she said, but her voice lacked conviction. "Isn't it?" Nathan stood, dropped cash on the table for coffee he hadn't ordered. "Think about it. Call me when you're ready to be honest." He left her sitting there, sun too bright, stomach churning with guilt that felt both earned and manipulated. That evening, Claire sat on her couch with Becca, recounting the conversation. Her best friend listened with increasing incredulity. "He's gaslighting you, again." "But what if he's right?" "Julian offered help, and I took it knowing Nathan would see. That's using someone. He offered, you accepted. Those are 2 different things." Becca grabbed Claire's shoulders, forcing eye contact. "Julian is a grown man with unlimited resources who made a choice. You didn't manipulate him." You didn't lie. He knew exactly what he was doing." "But I feel like I took advantage." "Of course you do. Because Nathan spent 4 years training you to question your own worth." Becca released her, sat back. "What does Julian think about all this?" "I haven't talked to him." "Then maybe you should. Return his jacket, clear the air. Close the chapter properly instead of letting Nathan rewrite the ending." The logic was sound. Claire retrieved the jacket from her closet. Julian's card from the counter. Tomorrow, she'd go to his office, apologize for any confusion, and move forward with her life. Saturday morning, she dressed carefully in clothes that were hers, not borrowed. She took the subway to the financial district, stood outside Cooper Ventures, staring up at glass and steel that seemed designed to intimidate. The lobby was all marble and modern art. The receptionist, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes, looked up from her computer. "I'm here to see Julian Cooper," Claire said. "I don't have an appointment. I just need to return something. Mr. Cooper is in meetings all morning. I can leave it with his assistant." Claire hesitated. Weaving the jacket felt wrong, cowardly. But showing up unannounced to a billionaire's office also felt presumptuous. She pulled out the note she'd written that morning, tucked it into the jacket pocket. "Could you make sure he gets this?" "Of course." The note read, "Thank you for the kindness. I'm sorry if I took advantage of your generosity. You deserved honesty, and I'm not sure I gave you that. I hope Saturday didn't cause complications in your life. Claire." She'd agonized over every word, trying to apologize without explaining, to express gratitude without obligation. Claire handed over the jacket, turned toward the elevators, feeling simultaneously relieved and disappointed. "Claire?" The voice stopped her mid-step. Julian stood near the private elevators, dressed in dark slacks and a gray button-down. No tie, top button undone. He looked less polished than Saturday, more real, and somehow that made him more attractive. "You were leaving without saying hello?" "I didn't want to interrupt your day. I just came to return your jacket." He glanced at the receptionist, who held up the garment sheepishly. His jaw tightened slightly. "Come upstairs. Please. You're in meetings. They can wait." It wasn't arrogant, just matter-of-fact. He gestured toward the elevator. Claire followed, hyper-aware of the receptionist's curious gaze. The ride up was silent. The elevator opened directly into his office, a space of floor-to-ceiling windows and minimalist furniture that somehow felt warm despite its austerity. The city sprawled below them, distant and manageable from this height. Julian moved to the windows, hands in his pockets. "You wrote a note. I wanted to apologize." "For what, exactly?" Claire struggled to find words that didn't sound like Nathan's accusations. "For accepting your help under false pretenses. For not being clear about my motivations. For potentially making you complicit in something petty." He turned to face her. "Do you regret Saturday night?" "I regret that you might think I used you." "What if I used you too?" His gray eyes were steady, unflinching. "What if I was lonely and tired and saw an opportunity to feel normal for a few hours? Does that make me manipulative?" "That's different." "How?" Claire couldn't articulate the distinction. The internalized belief that her needs were somehow less valid than his. Julian crossed the space between them, stopped close enough that she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. "I spent 4 years building a company, then 2 more learning that success doesn't equal happiness. Everyone wants something from me. Access, investment, association. You're the first person in recent memory who looked uncomfortable accepting help." His voice softened. "That's not manipulation, Claire. That's refreshing. Nathan said I'm just like him, playing games. Nathan is threatened because you proved you don't need him. Don't let him rewrite history to soothe his ego." Julian paused. "I have a question, and I need you to answer honestly." Clay nodded. "Do you regret meeting me?" "Not the performance. Me." "No." "Then stop apologizing." He stepped back, giving her space to breathe. "I'd like to take you to dinner. A real one. No ex-boyfriends, no cameras. Just 2 people getting to know each other without pretense." Hope fluttered in Claire's chest, immediately followed by fear. "Tea, or your charity case. I'm asking you to dinner, not proposing marriage, not offering to redesign your life." His slight smile returned. "Though I should warn you, I'm exceptionally boring. I work too much. My hobbies include reading financial reports, and my last relationship ended because she said I was emotionally unavailable." Sounds terrible. It gets worse. "I prefer staying in to going out. I can't cook. And I have strong opinions about coffee that make me insufferable at brunch." Claire felt herself smiling despite everything. "Why me?" The smile faded from Julian's face, replaced by something more serious. "Because at that grocery store, you were real. Scared and real. At the party, even playing a part, you were still real. Everyone in my life is selling something, performing something. You just existed. I'd forgotten what that looked like." The honesty was disarming. "One dinner," Claire said carefully. "We pay separately. Deal." His expression lightened. "Though I should mention I'm absurdly wealthy, and paying for dinner literally doesn't register on my financial awareness. You'd actually be doing me a favor." Half the check, non-negotiable. You're going to be difficult about this, aren't you? Probably. Good. Julian retrieved his phone, handed it to her. Put your number in, I'll text you details. Claire entered her information with shaking hands, gave back the phone. Their fingers brushed, brief and electric. I should let you get back to your meetings. They're tedious acquisitions discussions. You'd be doing me a favor by staying. I'm not staying. Worth asking. He walked her to the elevator, pressed the button. As the doors opened, he added, Claire, for what it's worth, I think Nathan's an idiot. And I'm grateful he is, because otherwise I wouldn't have met you. The doors closed on her responding smile. 2 months later, Claire sat across from Julian at a restaurant that didn't require reservations 6 weeks in advance. They'd been dating, slowly, carefully, learning each other in increments. He'd met Becca, who'd approved grudgingly before admitting he was acceptable, I suppose. Claire had learned about the scar above his eyebrow, a childhood accident involving a treehouse, and poor engineering. They'd gone to museums, walked through parks, ordered takeout, and watched documentaries, normal things that felt extraordinary because they were chosen, not performed. Becca joined them for dessert, sliding into the booth with her camera bag and easy laughter. The conversation flowed naturally, overlapping and comfortable. Oh, by the way, Becca said, stealing a bite of Julian's tiramisu. Nathan's engagement fell apart. Vanessa left him for some athlete with even more Instagram followers. It's been very traumatic and public. Claire waited for the satisfaction, the vindication. She felt nothing. Good for her, she said, meaning it. Later, walking back to her apartment with Julian beside her, the spring air finally warming, Claire felt his hand find hers. I have a gala next week, he said. Terrible event. Boring speeches about charitable foundations and networking with people I actively avoid at other times. Sounds awful. It is. Would you come? As my actual girlfriend? Not a performance, not revenge theater. Just you and me being insufferably coupled in public. Claire stopped walking, looked up at him. Will I need to play along? Not for a second. Just be exactly who you are right now. She kissed him, there on the sidewalk under streetlights, unhurried and certain. I'll think about it, she said when they separated. That's not a no. That's definitely not a no. They walked the rest of the way in comfortable silence, Julian carrying her jacket because she'd gotten warm, Claire thinking about galas and genuine moments and men who saw ordinary and called it extraordinary. When they reached her door, she turned to him. For the record, I'm glad Nathan was an idiot too. Julian smiled, the real one that made his gray eyes lighter. Best terrible decision he ever made. Inside, Claire hung both their jackets in the closet, side by side. Temporary, but hopeful. Her phone buzzed with a text from Becca. He's a keeper, don't screw this up. She responded, working on it. Outside her window, the city hummed with endless stories of people finding each other, in unexpected aisles, at unwanted parties, in moments of vulnerability turned into strength. Claire's story was just one among millions, but it was hers, authentic and earned, and that made it extraordinary after all.